toss. He lays out and makes the catch.
And we're back for another episode of the Double Switch Podcast. Sorry for the delay, everybody. We, to be completely honest, we did not expect to be doing this episode. As many of you listening are you're kind of with us on that. You know, this is so unexpected, and it feels like everything's happened so fast. Last time we spoke to you guys, we were as confident as can be, and never have confidence in baseball because it is the hardest sport to really predict when it comes to that. Phils go out to Arizona, and whatever Phils team that we fell in love with never got on that plane to Arizona. Johnny, I'm just going to rattle off some emotions that I felt over the past. I mean, now we're going on like 4 or 5 days. Anger, disappointment, sadness, a feeling of hopelessness, betrayal is probably the biggest one. Just so many emotions, so many painful emotions, and it's over. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's all over.
Well said. Yeah, I mean, I'm bad at these sort of things. You kind of rattled off my first day emotions pretty well. Disappointed is the one that sticks out. Rage and disappointment because we were better than this. We were a better team than we presented ourselves from Arizona to Game 7. We just didn't show up. I think we got a little. I think the fans. I mean, God forbid people go back and look at our last episode. We deserve to be trolled. I got cocky. I think the team I think they forgot that no one deserves a World Series. You have to go out there and fucking earn it.
You got cocky, I got cocky, the whole city got cocky, and the team got cocky. And that's the problem. I forgot one additional emotion, and that's embarrassment. Because to go up on a team 2-0, and for all the expectations that this team had, as they should have, they were very good. They were more talented. They had the pieces to get it done. And they blew it. It wasn't, you know, I really commend the Diamondbacks for taking that from us, but it really feels like a series that we gave away. More than anything, I think we had that series in our hands and they choked and they blew it. And everybody hates saying that when it's related to sports, but this team, like when they look back on the series, that's how they have to think of it. There's no validation here. There's really nothing to feel good about. That's a series that 13 other National League teams would have loved to get the opportunity to be in. And we had that opportunity. And not only did we have the opportunity, we were up 2-0. To go up 2-0 in a series is massive. You had every ounce of momentum. Yeah, you had every feeling of momentum. We had people on TV shows saying they're going to quit their jobs if we blew it. Like everybody was, we were sure. You know, you and I were cocky, but it's because we were sure. I trusted that this team, and through all their flaws, through all the pain that they put us through, I trusted them to come back after Game 3. I trusted them to come back after Game 4. And then once they won Game 5, like it's partly my fault because I'm probably too trusting, but I was so sure that they were going to come back to Citizens Bank Park and finish this series. And I'm angry at myself for actually feeling that way and for putting all my trust into people who obviously they didn't have it in them to get it done. And disappointment and embarrassment, it's going to age so poorly. You know, we're going to look back on this series because I want to get this back to you to talk for a second. But you look back on teams and like 2011, that team, you know, that was a really big missed opportunity because to get into the playoffs, for everybody to be healthy, That's one thing, health. This team is young. They were healthy. You had the core together. We have pieces now. Aaron Nola, who flat out we don't have a replacement for. This is the best two-starter that we might ever have going into a playoff series. Everybody's just getting older. Next year, JT is going to be, 33? Wheels is going to be 34. We had a young, healthy core with all the momentum, and you blow it. We completely blew it. And coming into this episode, like we were just chatting, I didn't feel too angry, but it is such a missed opportunity. And we're going to look back at it. If they never win a World Series, which is very possible, nothing's guaranteed, we're going to look back at this series and say that's where it went wrong. That's where the core and the magic and the city and the rebuild, and that's where everything went wrong, because it was such a good chance. It was such a good opportunity. You're back to you. All you. Take it from there.
No, you're right. It's not even like about like looking to like next year and how hard it is next year. It's more just about like we've been Philly fans long enough, and like we know getting to an NLCS is not cake. I mean, it's a hard thing to do, and a lot of things have to go right, and a lot of things have gone right for us the past 2 years. And the way the baseball gods work, I mean, you just can't write it in that we're going to be back next year in the NLCS. It's not that easy, and we're not going to have the same team. I mean, things are going to be similar coaching and personnel wise, but you have to think. I mean, for me, like the rage subsided today because I just woke up and I'm like, this sucks so bad that I can't even be mad anymore. It just sucks, and like it's disappointing. I mean, it does feel like you had a serious girlfriend. Maybe you proposed to her. She said yes, and you're all in. And then she just walked out the door, and you never heard from her again. There's no closure in this one. I can't call up Harp and be like, yo, dude, what the fuck happened? Sorry, I'm for the F-bombs. It's different times. It's dark times in Philly Nation.
Yeah, that or you were dating your longtime girlfriend and she gets on a plane and she goes out to Arizona and she cheats on you. It's just disappointment. Like I don't know what happened. Let's get into this because we've watched it all unfold. But what actually happened? we go up 2-0. We win 10-0 in a game. Tommy Pham had a quote after the game, and he said, we're getting humbled out here. We looked like we could not be stopped, and we were going to roll on to the World Series. And I was trying to figure out what day the parade was going to be. That's about where we were. We felt on top of the world. And, like, how do you get on a plane? You go to a different stadium, a stadium where the D-backs fan base, I'm not here to bash the D-backs fan base, but that's not entirely, like, hard place to play. They have good fans and they were into it, but to just have the energy yanked out of you, like, were they that reliant on Citizens Bank Park to create the energy for them that, like, were they never even that good in the first place? I have no idea what to think.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Is this, I mean, obviously it's we don't have to debate the topic that the Phillies choked, but are the Diamondbacks not getting quite enough credit for how they adjusted mid-series, or was it really just the Phillies just forgetting how to play baseball? Because I'm sure anyone that watched, I mean, you watched some of their pitchers, Fott, Merrill Kelly, Fott again. They had really good approaches against this team. That being said, the Phillies' approach at the plate got worse throughout. What is it? Like, what? Is it more that they just stepped it up, or is it more that we stepped down?
Okay, so I guess this is a good transition for the episode. So I think there's two things here. First off, on the D-back side, Brandon Pfaadt deserves a ton of credit. If there's one guy I could kind of highlight, they did not expect a ton from Brandon Pfaadt, and for him to come into Game 3 with all the momentum, it was a combination of him pitching really well and us with our shitty approach. He came in and he was the stopper that they needed. He He was, that's the Brandon Pfaadt I was hoping would save my fantasy team over the summer. The kid's good. Like, the kid has some pitchability, and he's a really good pitcher. So in game 3 for him to come in and stop the bleeding for a team that really needed him, that was huge. I think the whole second half of the series, Torey Lovullo, his name's not getting mentioned enough. I think he was pulling some strings that people should probably be talking about. Specifically bullpen management. He knew exactly when to yank his starters. We saw him pull Merrill Kelly after the 5th inning, and Merrill Kelly was pissed, but Torey Lovullo knew exactly what he was doing. All of our hitters were super uncomfortable facing whoever the D-backs threw out there. And we did our preview, and we completely disrespected the D-backs bullpen, you and I. I'm sorry, I'm guilty of it. Completely disrespected 100%. Them. Paul Sewald is a legit closer. Ryan Thompson, I know their names now, so that means something in its own right. Ryan Thompson,
we deserve this.
Dominated our righties. Like, I felt so hopeless when their side-arming righty came in, and I didn't even know who he was. Saul Frank, he got into a lot of trouble with the walks, but that's a pretty interesting lefty to throw at some of our big lefty bats. I think he was used very well to kind of keep the lefties uncomfortable. And then freaking Kevin Ginkel, man. Like, where did he come from? Where did he come from? He was insane. And he had this kind of stable of arms that he leveraged perfectly throughout the series. Lineup construction, I think that, he brought in Pavin Smith and Tommy Pham, and he had the guys running on the bases really well. That's one theme that kind of changed. They kind of started to wreak havoc on the bases, and what we'll never know is kind of like his role in the clubhouse. He must have settled that team down because they came out confident in game 3, which is impressive enough after just the domination in game 2 on our side. They played very well, and they do deserve credit. Or more credit than they've been getting? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's an easy thing to do to get the Phillies bats to start swinging the way they were. I mean, they got them uncomfortable, and their pitchers, they found the command they didn't have the games 1 and games 2. I mean, they just flipped a switch. I mean, their pitchers were different. I mean, we saw how Gallen was game 1. Like, he just did not – his fastballs were all over the middle. Same with Merrill Kelly. He made too many mistakes. They didn't make mistakes with their fastball. And, yeah, Torey Lovullo, I wanted to hit on that. I think he's a phenomenal manager, and I think – I'm not a guy that bashes Thompson a lot. I'm kind of a homer, but Thompson got his ass kicked by Lovullo. Yeah.
Torey Lovullo.
That name gives me issues.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. There's a lot of people, and I don't know about you, but I'm not here to. We'll get into the players, but I'm not here to bash anybody. I think we've done enough of that, and I don't know how much good that's even doing. Thompson did start to. I don't think he did anything wrong, but I think the magic started to wear off, specifically in how he was managing the bullpen. Kerkering, game 3, bringing him in, and he kind of, from that point on in the series, he didn't look super sharp. And then, Kimbrel and just – I think the game 3 wasn't as bad. Game 4, the bullpen management, I wasn't a fan of it because you have a clear advantage here where you have a 4-starter who you trust, Christopher Sanchez, and he didn't look super good. Jeff Hoffman in the 3rd inning, like, really? That seems a little early. And
didn't sit well.
Yeah, and you have the bullpen advantage in terms of depth, and he just exhausted it in game 4, which set us up poorly for game 5. And then, you had the 8th inning in game 4 where he brought Craig Kimbrel in because he didn't want to use Alvarado. He wanted to save Alvarado for game 5. Kimbrel blows it. Alvarado has to come in anyway. So that whole plan, it went to shit. And then game 5 comes around, and you don't have any of your bullpen arms. You could tell that he was walking a tightrope there, and it was a high risk, high reward proposition because you go up 3-1, and how many teams come back from 3-1? But I don't know if that was the way to manage that game and where you were in the series, especially with a game the next day. They're back-to-back games. You don't have the rest days to fix your bullpen.
Yeah, in general, I know we're on this whole shift in baseball. We saw Torrey and Rob do it with the early bullpens. Doesn't matter how good your starter is doing. But the Phillies having advantage in their bullpen, I really do feel like Rob he handled the strength the wrong way. Like, if you have such a good bullpen, then you don't forget that your starters can be a strength as well. I mean, in that type of series, it's almost like whichever starter could go a little bit further, whichever starter could get you to the 6th inning, that kind of sets you up perfectly if you have a strong bullpen. A perfect example, I don't know if we want to skip ahead to Game 7, but I will. Probably the most confusing thing for me, the whole it was all confusing, but Ranger. They're ready to pull Ranger at Corbin Carroll's second at bat, but not his third. Why not his third?
I have no idea.
They were this close to pulling him in, what was it, the 3rd or 4th inning? But come the 5th inning, 3rd time around, just let him rock. It's like, where's the logic in that? I mean, I thought it was all supposed to be data-based, and if I know that data says the 3rd time around is much more dangerous than the 2nd time around. I don't even have to look it up because I know that. That sucked to me. That was avoidable. We took Ranger out. We really took him out just a bat or two late. And I think it was, if you watch baseball, it was pretty, like, feel-wise, that felt like the time. Corbin Carroll, a 3rd time around the lineup.
Yeah, I think.
And that was crucial. He was a base runner that ended up scoring.
Yeah, if there was one theme throughout just the entire season, and I guess Rob Thompson's tenure, he doesn't have a good feel for that, and he never really has. How long to keep the starting pitcher, and he just doesn't have a feel for it. So back to and on the Corbin Carroll thing, if you don't want him to face him a second time, you definitely don't want him to face him a third time. You're so right. I didn't even think about that until now. Back to game 4. You've heard the saying before that you want to shorten a game. You want to get your starter as far into the game, and you want to shorten the period at the end of the game. It felt like Thompson went into that game, and he wanted to lengthen the game because he knew he had a deep bullpen. And, like, how are you going to do that in game 4 when you have a game the following day? That's kind of what I didn't understand there. It felt short-sighted, and he kind of put all of his marbles in and all of his chips in game 4 and kind of treated that like I get what he's doing. He treated that like a must-win game, but it's a 7-game
factors that go into it.
Yeah,
I mean, you're overexposing arms. You're overexposing the hitters. They're getting more and more and more at bats against every pitch these guys have.
That seems like a 5-game series type of move, not a 7-game series type of move. So that was questionable. The one place where I would probably defend him, he has gotten criticized for his lineup construction the whole series, and I'm obviously I'm super biased. I'll just say it right off the bat. I do trust Alec Boehm a lot in the cleanup spot. People were calling for him to move Alec Boehm out of the 4 spot, and he was struggling. I will not argue that, but you have no better options. You could put JT there, but I don't know if I necessarily trust JT more than Alec Boehm. It's 50-50. I'd rather have Boehm. And people were so slow to realize Nick Castellanos had just fallen from the skies. People were so slow to realize that. And those are your 2 big righty bats. You'd rather have the guy, in my opinion, who can put the bat on the ball the best. That's Alec Boehm. And I guess that's kind of the only lineup problem. The Johan Rojas stuff,
that's going to be criticized.
Not a super strong opinion on that, but yeah, that was mentioned too.
To me, that's the Rojas one is. I think it's an exhausted argument. People send that guy to Japan and like all this crap. Like Twitter is going in on the kid. But if our big dogs and even guys like Stott and Bohm get going earlier, we're not talking about Johan Rojas' offense if the rest of the lineup's hitting. I mean, I know there's a couple at bats where getting a run across would have been huge, but we knew our expectations for him. He's going to play top of the line defense, and whatever we get on offense is a bonus. We knew this going in, and we knew he was going to be the starter going through the playoffs. It's on the other guys. It is.
Yeah, so we're not even having this conversation if Nick Castellanos can hit like at a respectable clip in this series.
Maybe get a double.
Yeah, like if Nick Castellanos comes up 4 or 5 times instead of going 1 for 25, Johan Rojas isn't in half these spots that he's in. You know, I know Game 7 we're going way out of order, but first and third,
okay.
1 out, Nick Castellanos puts the ball in play. Johan Rojas doesn't come up with the bases loaded. And who are you paying $20 million to get that run in? You know, like Rojas is obviously here for his defense. We know that. It's an analytical move, and people, like, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but people generally don't understand that side of baseball. You and I do. His defense does outweigh the bat, and WAR will tell you that. We saw him make a ton of really good catches, and he's in the lineup for his glove. You know, Nick Castellanos is in the lineup to drive those runs. So if you want to be mad at Rojas for the issues with the bat, you got to be more mad at Nick, because that's the reason he was up in spots like that so often. But those were the 2 lineup qualms. Game 3, let's just wrap up Game 3. Walk off, Craig Kimbrell blows it. I wasn't super upset. You know, you're up 2-1 at that point. Game 4, we seemed to bounce back, and then the moment the series, in hindsight, the series was over at this point. When Craig Kimbrell gave up that home run to Alek Thomas, first off, I went to bed shortly after because I knew deep down that we were not coming back from that. We are going to look back at Craig Kimbrell, and he's going to be one of those guys who the city's just going to really dislike for a long time. And I get it, because that moment, you are supposed to be one of the best closers of all time. You know, he has 400 plus saves. He's on his way to the Hall of Fame. Like, I get that baseball's hard, but he is probably the leading reason why the momentum shift was as drastic as it was. Everybody on the team's fighting, clawing, trying to get a win. And he single-handedly blew that game. It's brutal. It's brutal, but it's the truth.
He invited doubt into the conversation. Those that Game 3 and that Game 4, he just there was no doubt in this team. They were firing on all cylinders, and he invited it back in, and it spread like a wildfire. And whatever happened after that game kind of spread like a cancer to this team and destructed them.
Yeah, and you look at the situation, you have Craig Kimbrell in against Alek Thomas, and we were trying not to use Alvarado, but afterwards it became so clear that was an Alvarado spot, and it just highlights everything that went wrong this series. That was the moment where we lost the series. Props to Alek Thomas. That was a huge moment for that team. It was a huge at-bat, but execute, Craig Kimbrell. You have a terrible postseason track record. People are going to look back at you and think that you couldn't perform in those moments. And they're going to be right in believing that, because that was a big moment and the team really needed you, and Rob Thompson trusted you, and you couldn't execute. And you are probably the leading reason for why the Phils are watching the rest of the playoffs on the couch. Right or wrong?
Correct. I mean, whether you want to say it's because he lost the game or killed the momentum going forward, both would apply, and I would 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and it's not personal. I don't want to end up on TikTok, and I'm not trying to make it personal, but that is the moment, and everybody knows it. Nobody in the clubhouse is going to say it, but everybody knows.
I felt it.
I felt it.
Oh,
Yeah, you felt
that
it. The
Alec
whole
Thomas
city.
home run crushed it. He crushed me. I mean, that game. I mean, that home run. You felt it. I felt it. It took the air out of the tires. It did.
Yeah. So you had a chance to go up 3-1, which is entirely it's a whole world apart from 2-2. But we lose that game 2-2. Game 5 in Arizona, which at this point I was starting to kind of worry a little bit about our odds of like winning a game again in that series. But they pull out game 5. Zach Wheeler's awesome. That's the big theme there. Zach Wheeler's awesome. He's a
King.
postseason legend. And
King shit.
yeah, Phils are coming back up 3-2 back to Citizens Bank Park. This is kind of it. I mean, you were with me. I thought Game 6 was going to be the game where it was it. We saw them just capture that magic that Citizens Bank Park offers them. But Game 6 comes around. Aaron Nola doesn't pitch well. I'm not blaming Aaron Nola either. I don't think anybody's really blamed Aaron Nola. He could have gone 7 innings with 2 earned runs, and they would have lost. Offense no-showed. Literally no show from the offense. Top to bottom, just nothing happening. And that set up a Game 7 that you and I were both confident again. Ranger Suarez on the hill. Kind of what were you feeling at that point after coming back and not seeing the team that we were used to?
Well, I think I was texting you a little bit, but I did get to a point in that game where it hit me. I think you would ask me early in the game, like, how you feeling? I was confident at one point. I think it was it was after Ranger had let up that run had been taken out. It was 3-2, and I forget which exactly at bat it was. It might have been after that Harper fly out, but turned off my phone and the vibe changed because I did not feel like this team had any energy left. I felt like they ran out of gas, and they were just there. They were just there on the field.
Yeah, so Ranger pitches well. Brandon Pfaadt pitches better. Shout out again to Brandon Pfaadt.
Yeah, Brandon Pfaadt.
Giving credit where it's due here. Tip of the cap to Brandon Pfaadt.
Guy's...
Game 7. That's what pitchers dream of, pitching like that in a Game 7.
Awesome.
Yeah, the moment that just it sticks out to me, I think it was the 4th inning, and we talked about it, 1st and 3rd. I don't remember the score, but I know that it was Nick Castellanos coming up 1st and 3rd, and I just saw 3 of the worst swings I've ever seen in my life out of Nick Castellanos. They walk Marshy, and Rojas strikes out, and at that point, I kind of felt like that was going to be our best chance at scoring again. I knew as the game went on, these guys were going to feel it because you and I felt it. I mean, we're at home and we can feel the tension. I knew these guys were going to get really tight, and after the leadoff double from Schwartz, I think this was the 5th inning or 6th inning. I know the last like 9 or 11 batters were retired in the game, so 5th or 6th inning, Schwarber doubled, Schwarber leadoff double, and leaving runners on was the biggest problem in games 3 through 7. It was incredible, some of the freaking like situations where we would just not be able to get a run across. Schwarber obviously leadoff double, and then Trey Turner comes up, and we could have probably a whole episode on Trey Turner because
I don't want to even talk about him.
Yeah, because in that at bat, not only did he try to bunt, which was strange, but he if you know baseball, you know that the fundamentals of having a guy on second base, no outs, you do a job there. That is what you've been taught since you were 5 years old. You have to do a job, hit behind the runner, sack fly, do something. And what does he do? He grounds to third base, which is the only place on the field where you can't ground out. He was being uber aggressive. He was way ahead of a curveball or something. And can he just execute once? Like the whole team they could not execute fundamental baseball. And it just drives me nuts because I understand it. And I played baseball. I stopped in high school, and I understand what needs to be done there. And you're getting paid millions of dollars, and you can't do a job. Like Trey Turner grounding out to third base. If he does a job there, I'm starting to get a little angry, so I'm going to calm down. But if he does a job there, Schwarber's on third base, and then what does Bryce Harper do? We're down 3-2 at this point. No, we're down 4-2. Runner on third base. Bryce Harper sends a ball to deep left field. I thought for a moment that it was out, but even if it's not out, that's a deep ball into the outfield, and Schwarber should be on third base. That should be a sac fly, and that's a one-run game. That run matters so much there. And Trey Turner's going up there, and he's trying to go yard. And that's just not how that's not small ball. That's not what winning teams do. Especially a hitter like that who's struggling as bad as he is. Him and Nick Castellanos, these swings that they were taking were just insane. You're 0 for 15, 0 for 20. Shorten up and just make contact and help the team out in some way. I mean, what they were doing was useless. They were dead outs. And at that point, once the Schwarber ball, the Harper fly out, when he missed that ball, Alec Boehm comes up against the righty sidewinder, whoever he is. And that wasn't happening. That guy's in there to get righties out. Alec Boehm pops out. And at that point, I think I texted you. I didn't get a response because I guess your phone was off at that point. I thought it was over. I knew that they were going to really tighten up. I didn't know if Bryce was going to bat again. And I thought, obviously, Bryce Harper's the biggest impact bat. He has the best chance to actually give us, that home run ball, those runs, him and Schwartz. And I know they were done, and I was looking at this freaking lineup, and Nick Castellanos is dead out. I knew he was coming up. I knew Rojas was coming up, and it was over. It was over at that point.
Yeah, it was. And this team deserves to get trolled. This was a cocky team. The big balls celebration, the Stubbs pool comment. I mean, it's like they dug their own grave thinking back on it.
Yep. And I know I texted you about this, but before that, the relationship between the team and the city, it was better than we've ever seen it. We had guys at football games getting cheered on, the ring celebration, dancing on my own, Xfinity Live, you name it. The team
Fuck that song.
The team and the fan base fell in love with each other, and we trusted them. They trusted us. Oh, real quick. Shout out to each and every soul at Game 7. Those fans were incredible, man.
They were.
Game 6 was obviously a little different because the stakes, weren't as high. But Game 7, those fans showed up for that team, dude, and the team did not show up for them. And I feel bad that those people, they just gave it their all for 3 hours of their lives, and I wish the team could give it back to them, but they couldn't. And that's it. Like I said, it's over.
Dude, trust is earned in this city, and the Phillies spent the past 2 years building back that trust to as strong as it's ever been in a sports team, and the longest I can think of. And it just breaks my heart because I know that in my soul too, it just feels like it feels like moving forward, it's no matter what we do in the first half of next year, it's like, what are you guys going to fold what matters? Like, come on. Like, you guys folded when we needed it most.
Yeah. And, like I said, I'm huge fans of all of these players. I think they're all great people and great players who are capable of great things. And as much as I want them to all get that ring in that World Series, this collapse, they have nobody to blame but themselves. And, if you're a fan of this team, don't feel bad. I mean, we as fans did all we could. We showed up for them this year. We showed up in the playoffs. We gave this team every ounce that we could, and they weren't able to reciprocate it. And it sucks that it has to be this way. Whatever magic that we had last year to be able to roll over teams as the 6th seed, it seems the D-backs found it somewhere along these lines, and the Phils couldn't battle through it. And now they're home, and they have all winter to kind of think about what happened. And I'm sure, as bad as we feel, I'm sure they feel just as bad, probably even worse. And the guys, to their credit, I mean, they stood in the clubhouse and they took it after Game 7. Bryce Harper, as much as I want to be mad at his poor games 3 for 7, I can't. The guy's accountable. He knows that he was bad and he's disappointed in himself. And obviously, they all wish they could have done better. But actions speak louder than words. Yeah. Actions speak louder than words.
Yep, and I mean, us as Phillies fans, yes, we're going to look at the interviews and be like, and know that they're stand-up guys. And me and you, we're going to get back on this podcast. We'll be back in the stands next year. It's not going to change our love for this team. But, I mean, across baseball, they're not looking at our post-game interviews. They don't give a fuck. They saw that our biggest players that we spent a ton of money on choked. And that's gonna hang on their legacies. It is. Harper is victim number 1, because when you're as big as Bryce Harper, you have to deal with that. I mean, there's no dodging it. I mean, people think he's a choker. He didn't show up in the World Series in 2022, even though he carried us to the World Series. He carried us back to the NLCS, and then it sucks because we know how much he did to carry us to these points because we watch every game. But at the end of the day, actions speak much louder than your post-game interview.
Yeah, I think he went 2 for 19, which is awful. 2 for 19 at Game 3, post-Game 3, 2 for 19. Trey Turner was, just worse. He was even worse.
And then fans, man, that was bad.
Yeah, and then Nick Castellanos. I'm sorry, Nick, but when I look back on this postseason, I'm going to remember the 0 for 22. I'm not going to remember the
What have you done for me lately?
I'm not going to remember it. It was he had a great series there against the Braves, and if there was an NLDS most valuable player, you would have been that. But if there was a least valuable player for the NLCS, you probably would have been that too. So as much as you helped us, you probably hurt us just as much. And it's, once again, it's nothing personal. I'm just saying what I observed, and I'm obviously going to be in the stands rooting for them next year. I hope the very best for all of them, and I hope that next time they get that opportunity, they can capitalize on it. But the trust that I had in them as players and the team as a fan, I don't know if I have it anymore, and they're going to have to re-earn it. I don't even know what that looks like. But yeah, it takes time to build that trust again.
Yeah, I think me and you talked a lot about that after the game or the day after, but you're right. Like things are different. We're not that fun party team anymore. You can't do that anymore. You lost that right. Give it up. That stupid song's done. The stupid overalls. No more of that shit. Just you got to go out and win baseball games, because Phillies it's all fun and games when you're winning, but when you do something like that, it's not fun anymore.
No, it's not. And just to, kind of sum it up again, they thought they earned it when they really hadn't. And kind of last year they were playing like a team that had nothing to lose. And this year they looked like a team that was playing with everything to lose. And effectively, they kind of lost it all. Big picture here. We'll kind of wrap up the episode here because it's getting kind of long. It's really, it's tough to not think that this is going to be like their best chance. We're really close, but it's just hard not to feel like this is going to be one of the better chances that, especially in Bryce Harper's career, that they're going to have. Things were just coming together so perfectly, and now you start from kind of scratch in terms of building that goodwill with the city. Building that reputation that we had at Citizens Bank Park of just being a place that's impossible to play. D-backs tore that down and proved that this team's beatable at Citizens Bank Park. So are we even going to have that magic anymore? No clue. They lost that. And, it's going to be a legacy-defining series for a lot of these guys. And all they can really do to kind of trump this and leave this, kind of bury this plot that they've kind of developed is win a championship. That's it. That's what you have to do at this point.
Yeah, I think that is the end goal, but I think also an NL East title. We got to win that NL East title.
Sure, yeah. Wait, are we going to get one of those one of these years?
If they don't, then I'm not going to buy into his wild card shit anymore. It's are you guys the fighting Phils or are you the folding Phils? Come on, answer that question next year because you answered it this year and it sucks. We folded.
We folded. So, you got anything else about the series before we kind of wrap it up here?
No.
No. Yeah, me neither. I'm rooting for the Rangers get their first World Series, and I don't really want an 84 win D-backs team that beat us to win the World Series. It's just I don't.
Yeah. On an unrelated note, I saw that George W. Bush is throwing out the first pitch, which is cool.
I did see that. That'll be cool. I think as long as the Rangers don't do what we did, which is blow it, I think that they're deeper and better, and I think they should be able to do it. But then again, I said that before the Phillies series, so what do I know?
Yeah, can't guarantee I watch all that series. My passion for sports is taking a large hit.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. It's been such a struggle because I'm so invested in this. But then you take a step back and you think about the playoffs, and baseball is one of those unique sports where, we've been complaining about seeding and all this stuff. There's a certain aura about baseball, and like there's a magical aspect to it that it's the reason that the MLB playoffs are so sick, and that's why we love it so much. And it feels like we're kind of just a part of it in a bad way now. But as a MLB fan, obviously I'm a Phillies fan before an MLB fan. Like this is effectively why we love baseball. You can't count on anything, and it sucks right now. But it's baseball. You need a combination of luck, health, skill, magic. It just needs to come together all perfectly. Yeah, willpower. And it's just, if they ever do get that trophy, it's just going to make it all the better. But they got to get the trophy. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, it does remind you how hard the end goal is and how much it takes and how, we've been lucky these past 2 years. As fans, we're a type of crew that gets real excited and we pump up our Phils. We're prideful here, and you do take a look and you're like, well, we did this to teams that thought they had a better chance than us, and we stomped on their hearts after we beat them. So, it's fucking baseball, man.
Yeah, it's kind of poetic because all the Braves podcasts were on here talking about this like 3 weeks before us. Baseball, you can't predict it, and it's why we love it. So, yeah, we're done with the 2023 season prematurely, but nonetheless, we're done. Onto the off season. We will be back soon. I guess
probably give it a week or two hiatus.
Yeah, let's let it simmer. We have a couple weeks until free agency even starts.
Yeah.
Lot of plot lines to follow here with Nola, who's probably the biggest. Reese, Kimbrel and Lorenzen, they can just leave.
Yeah. Get out of town.
Yeah, and then kind of what do we think we need to do to get over the hump? So that's kind of what we'll be discussing soon.
Yeah, I didn't want to go into it, but there is a lot to watch this offseason. I don't want to go into details, but people could be traded, people could be let go. We'll be on it like we were last year, even though our hearts are broken. It's still go Phils at the end of the day.
Still go Phils. And with that being said, that kind of does it for not just this episode, but the 2023 season. This is technically our final episode for our second full season now, which is pretty sick. On to 2024 we go. But as always, thank you all for listening. Yeah. Go ahead. You want to get your thank you in?
Yeah, I was going to say thanks everyone for supporting. Me and Josh just do this because we're Philly psychos, like whoever else is watching this. It's been sweet. I didn't expect to get feedback and comments and stuff like that, but even interacting with people has been super cool. I hope everyone keeps listening in the off season and doesn't let their anger for the Phillies carry too far into next year, because it's a game, but it's a game we love, and we'll be back at it next year.
Well said. I'm not actually going to follow that up because it was a perfect closing. So thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you soon.